This is an AI-generated podcast based on the article From Burned Out to Called Out: How Honor Jensen Coaches Leaders to Thrive in Faith and Business, written by Mark Leventer. The article link is in the show notes. Honor, welcome to Kingdom Factor Collective. Really glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Mark. I'm excited to be here. This is the kind of conversation I love having.
So let's start at the beginning because the story of how you got into coaching is, it's kind of remarkable. You had 25 years in HR, you were feeling burned out, and you actually brought it to God in prayer. And the ask was pretty reasonable. Finished his project, then on January 1st, we'll talk. What happened next?
So here's what happened. Several hours after that prayer, not weeks, not months, hours, I walked into work and got the message. We've decided to go in a different direction. And I just remember thinking, God, I didn't mean today. Like, I was not ready. The direction I'd asked about was being decided for me, effective immediately. It was shocking, disorienting, and honestly, it was the beginning of everything.
That's a gut punch moment. And you've described what came out of it as being built on this idea of obedience over comfort. Can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Obedience over comfort means you move when God moves, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's terrifying. I didn't choose the timing, but I could choose the response. And what I've learned is that when you lean into that, when you actually surrender the plan, the destination is usually worth the disruption. That's become kind of the foundation of how I coach now.
So you're now a business and executive coach with a PCC credential. And your coaching practice launched in early 2020, which, timing wise,
Right? The world shut down. But honestly, it became a chance to regroup and get really clear on direction. And one of the things I had to get clear on early, because a lot of the leaders I work with struggle with this, is that making money and honoring God are not competing ambitions. It's not a sin to be profitable. There's this quiet shame that can attach itself to faith driven entrepreneurs, like somehow success betrays their values. And I dismantle that assumption early.
that's interesting because I think that tension is really real for a lot of people. And your coaching approach, it's intentionally inclusive, right? You're not opening every session with scripture. How does faith actually show up in the work you do with clients?
Great question. I think the principles I lead with, dignity, love, accountability, servant leadership, they're unmistakably rooted in my faith. But for a client who doesn't share my beliefs, those same principles just land as good leadership because they are. I'm not going to say, what would Jesus do to someone who isn't a believer, but I would demonstrate it. The core of it all is love. And who can argue with that? Does that make sense?
It really does. And I want to go back to something from your HR years because there's this moment around 2015 that you've talked about. Your organization was grappling with some really charged questions around gender identity and inclusion, and you chose what you called a third path. What did that look like?
Yeah, so the cultural pressure at the time was loud, and the framing was very either or. You either fully capitulate or you're hateful. And I just refused to accept that. The question I kept asking was, how can we create an environment where everyone can thrive and be loved and protected, but not necessarily cater to something I didn't believe in? We asked the challenging questions instead of only the questions the world told us we could ask. Holding conviction and compassion together without collapsing one into the other, that became my professional signature.
That posture right there, that's hard to hold. Most people just pick a side. Talk to me about how Kingdom Factor fits into this, because I know that was a turning point for you.
So, I was at a global leadership conference and I watched executives from major secular organizations speak openly about their faith from the main stage. And it stirred something in me. Not envy, but recognition. Like, people need a place where they can do this every day, not just once a year at a conference. And when I found Kingdom Factor, I recognized it immediately. It's an environment that helps you make money and thrive in your business, but do it from a biblical perspective. And the deepest value, you are not alone. Leadership is isolating. The higher you climb, the fewer people truly understand the weight you carry.
And the cohort model, you've described it almost like a trusted board of directors.
Exactly. People who've been through what you're facing, people who will speak honestly without an agenda. And they share the same biblical foundation, so you never have to translate your values before the real conversation can begin. Even if it's not the day for your cohort meeting, you've got someone you can pick up the phone and call. And that translates into great business decisions and a culture in your organization where everybody can thrive.
Honor, last question, and I think it's the big one. You talk about the ripple effect of coaching a single leader. Can you just land that for us?
Yeah, a leader shaped by faith driven principles creates a healthier culture for their team. That team goes home differently. Families are affected. Employees bring something different to their own communities. The ripple moves outward in ways that are hard to measure, but impossible to miss. That's the vision I'm working toward. Not just better run businesses, but leaders whose obedience to God creates space for the people around them to flourish.
That is so good. Honor, thank you for your time, for your honesty, and for the work you're doing. For anyone listening who wants to learn more about Honor Jensen or explore Kingdom Factor's cohort community, the article link is in the show notes. Don't do this alone. There's a table where your whole self belongs.